All right, we're good. We didn't get the little note. Okay. So first, we want to welcome everybody. How y'all doing? So my name is Margaret. I'm the chair of the Whiteaker Community Council. And if this is your first meeting or your 50th, the first 10 minutes, we actually do a public comment. So what's going to happen is that Saoirse, can you raise your hand? Let people know who you are. Saoirse will run the meeting in the background. If you have a question or want to make a comment throughout the meeting, what we do is we ask you can either raise your hand. If you look at the bottom under reactions, there's a little deal where it says raise hand. You can do that by raising your hands. If you're on the phone, if you're connected on a telephone, please just say that you'd like to get your name in the queue. And then as we go into getting questions, what will happen is that we do have a queue on the side that's just a little message board. So as we get into the meeting a little later, Saoirse will put your name in the queue in the order that you're in. So just to get it started, do we have any public comment? We're all excited tonight, I can tell. Stephen from Train Song, is that correct? And I want everybody to welcome Stephen, who's here from the Train Song neighborhood. They are excited about coming and just checking out our meetings and seeing what the Whiteaker is all about. I'm sorry, go ahead. Stephen, if you have any questions during the meeting, you just feel free to let us know.
Okay, thanks.
You bet. So there's no public comment, is that correct? All right. So just a couple announcements. We want to welcome, we did invite anyone from Ward 7. We invited the Train Song neighborhood. We want to welcome them. We just a couple of updates really quick. So there was a meeting that was held in Scobert Gardens for those of you that didn't make it, that was put on by the neighborhood. And it actually was a good meeting. We went over there and we looked at what the new plans are, at least the two plans that they have. People came over from 5th Street. People from 4th were there. People all around the park came and participated, which was nice through the course of the time that we were there. And Sue helped put that together. Is that right, Sue? Yes. So I want to thank her for doing that. And I will tell you the one thing that everyone, we're not all going to agree on everything at the same time, but the one thing that everyone did agree on is that it doesn't matter how large or how small that our park is. We do have one of the largest homeless populations in Eugene, as well as the fact that the Whiteaker is becoming more and more popular. There's more restaurants, there's more traffic, there's more people down there. I did not know. I learned that the closest bathroom is a half a mile away. When you come out of Nelson's and they're closing and it's 10 o'clock at night, there's nowhere to go. And there are people that live down there that are, having some issues with people that live down there on the streets and have nowhere to go. So the one thing that we all did agree on is that we need a bathroom. No matter if they told us originally that the park was too small to constitute having a restroom there. Well, for me and for what I gathered from the neighborhood is that we don't need a bathroom for the park. We need a bathroom for the neighborhood. It's unsanitary, and people need a place to go. So I took on the responsibility of creating an email list, and we're gonna just start emailing everybody, the health department, the city, the county. If you would like to be on that email list, please just email me and give me your name, information. Tell me that you want to be on the email list to work on getting a bathroom down in the Whiteaker by Scobert Park. And you can email me at whiteakercommunitycouncil.com. And you know what they say, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. So I know that there have been some people that have been waiting for me to do that, but I wanted to announce it at the meeting so that we could, the more the merrier. I actually have started reaching out to businesses that are around there as well. And everyone is excited about having a restroom outside. I talked to people where people just walk right into their place of business and go into their bathroom, and it's not a good situation. So please email me. Let's get the email going. Just email me, like I said, at whiteakercommunitycouncil@gmail.com. Give me your name. If you could tell me, where you live, that would be great if you're comfortable with that. And give me your email address, and then we're just gonna go after that. Also, starting October 11th, which is the next general meeting, we will be having hybrid meetings, which means that we will continue our Zoom meeting, and we will have an in-person meeting, and it will be happening at the Mission. They're great. They have a very large space. So in case of things like COVID, Doriandra, we love ya. There is room there for social distancing. We will have masks available if that's what you prefer. If you feel better coming in with the mask, I've been in a meeting there before. We did our last hybrid meeting there, and they even fed us. The Mission is a whole new ball game. They're teaching people careers in the service industry. So them actually having someone to cook for and present it is a great thing, and we want to be supportive of them. And they've offered to run those meetings for us, and we don't have the IT equipment to do it. So nor do we really have the space anymore. So we will be doing our general meetings, which are the second Wednesday of every month. Some of us, who got the mailer? Did everyone get the mailer? There was a mistake in the mailer, and I'll take responsibility for it. I didn't proofread it enough, I guess, where it says that we do have board meetings and we have general meetings. We have one general meeting, which is the second Wednesday of every month, and then we have a board meeting, which is the third Wednesday of every month. The general meeting is just what it says. It's for everybody. It's where we have meetings like we're having today. The board meeting, we go in, we have general open comment for 10 minutes, and then we discuss board business. We invite anybody that wants to come. You're welcome to come and listen. But what we do ask is that, you can't participate unless you're on the board at the actual board meeting, because we're voting on whatever it is that we're talking about at that time. Okay, are there any other announcements? Did I miss anything? Fantastic. So we are really excited to, we're running a little bit ahead of schedule. That's always a great thing. Jennifer, are you here?
I am.
So we're really lucky to have Jennifer Dennison here. She actually is representing the Burrito/Breakfast Brigade, and she wants to give us some updates on what's happening there and take any questions if we have it. So Jennifer, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Margaret. So I think most people, hopefully in the WIT, know I've been ED and one of the founders of Burrito Brigade. So I've been ET for a few years. Lisa Leveson is also on this call, who is the Breakfast Brigade. Um, oh, it's all echoey. Sorry. Burrito Brigade makes burritos for anybody that is hungry. This last year, Eugene Catholic Workers lost their Franciscan of Brother Charlie, so they were no longer allowed to be under the Eugene Catholic Workers. So it made the most sense for us to bring them under. So Burrito Brigade is under our projects are the breakfast that is Wednesday through Saturday at WJ Park, the Little Free Pantries, which there are a lot of them in the WIT, and then our Waste to Taste pantry and building, which we took possession of September of last year, which is right on the border of being in the WIT. We are at 6th and Chambers, and we share a parking lot with the Houndstooth Bar. So Monday through Friday, we run a food rescue free pantry where people can come in with dignity and fill out their own boxes. And then as soon as the Lane County Public Health will approve our kitchen, we will be making burritos in that kitchen, and Breakfast Brigade will also be preparing. And then Lisa is maybe still on, she's still on this call to just talk about just the changes of, obviously, as you saw in the news, the Lane County kind of giving us the finger when it came to getting a permit to WJ Park, and feels very similar with currently we're fighting Lane County Public Health, not fighting, but they don't want to give us a permit for our kitchen because there's no category, because we make food and we don't sell it, and we make food and we don't distribute it on site. So they had to have a special meeting to make a category to then inspect our kitchen. So technically Burrito Brigade is on pause for the first time in 9 years, and we haven't been able to do burritos, but majority of this, why I asked Margaret, is so that we could touch base with the news of, obviously, the issues we came across with trying to get a permit for WJ Park. So I will turn the table right over to Lisa.
Hi.
Happy to answer questions.
I'm so grateful that you're allowing us to share what we do with you, and we hope that we can collaborate to be able to serve the hungry in the Whiteaker at Washington Jefferson Park in a respectful way to the Whiteaker community. We've been serving in the park for 9 years, sometimes without a permit, sometimes with. During COVID, the city actually gave us a permit to serve the hungry in the park, and we had city councilors and county commissioners and lots of people down there for photo opportunities to show that we cared about the homeless. But as soon as they moved the homeless out of the park and started resurfacing the park, they told us that our permit had expired, and we said, oh my goodness, we're so sorry, we'll fill out a new form. And we were told last October that no new permits would be granted to serve in the park. They threw up some objections to us, and we met every objection. They were concerned about trash in the park. We are too. And so we started busting out our own trash. They didn't want us to drive in the park. They were worried about us driving on the turf. We parked on the sidewalk legally. They were worried about liability insurance, although shockingly, that seems to no longer be a concern. So we spent 10 months working with the city, and at the worst point, I believe it was June 29th, they threatened to arrest our septuagenarian and octogenarian volunteers for serving in the park. The police actually came down and said if we came back tomorrow, they would cite us, and if they came back the next day, they would arrest us for serving the homeless in the park. And we were serving on the sidewalk at this point because we thought that that was perhaps not actually in the park. Needless to say, after lots of going back and forth and many news reports and speaking to the city council, we now have a permit to serve in the park at 5th and Washington, and we take that. We're so grateful that we were able to resolve that peacefully, and we can just go back to serving people meals. But we also are very cognizant of being responsible within the Whiteaker. There's a lot of concerns about the fact that we're serving people in the park that we're drawing people into the Whiteaker by serving the homeless. I don't know that that's true, because we've been serving some of the same people, sadly, for 9 years. We know them by name. We know their health conditions. Certainly, we do have new people come into the park, but some of these people have about a third of the people we serve have severe mental illness. Schizophrenia and bipolar disorder are very, very common. Another 30% of them are struggling with drug and alcohol addiction. And other people are just car camping and falling through the cracks. They are working poor. They might be car camping, and they're coming for a meal and some socks and maybe some clothes. We hand out feminine hygiene supplies and a number of extra things. So there are people there, and we see our numbers increase specifically between the 15th and the 31st of the month, where we can be serving 50 to 60 people a day, and at the end of the month we are serving 70 to 100 people a day, and we serve 2 meals, so double the numbers there, because we do serve them breakfast and a takeaway lunch. What is important to us is to have the support of the Whiteaker Community Council. We are looking at starting to do a monthly day of service in the park, to pick up trash, because every day we put cardboard covers over the trash cans so that no trash can be added to the park, and we bus all of our trash and recycling out every day that we serve it. That doesn't mean that other people who are coming in the park aren't leaving trash behind. So we are looking at wanting to do a day of service with both our guests and our volunteers to keep the park clean. But we're here today ostensibly to ask for your support or your concerns in the work that we do in the park, because it's right within your ward. It's within the Whiteaker neighborhood, and we don't want to be there and not be a responsible neighbor and nonprofit. So that's what I've got. Jennifer, have you got anything to add?
I'm good. I'm open to questions or concerns. I mean, I know burrito brigades have been around for a while, but I mean, I would, like Lisa said, we just want to be good neighbors. So that's where I'm at. Thea, did you raise your hand?
I did. First off, thank you, ladies, for the great work you're doing. I've been the Whiteaker's kind of parks and safety liaison for a long time. And so businesses often come to me, or residents asking questions. And one of the concerns I'm hearing is the pantries, and I live on North Grand, is that yeah, right next to Amy's. Yeah, like I've gotten Amy a hose because somebody stole her hose. I brought her a trash can. You know, is we're seeing a lot of excess trash. And as you were talking, I was like, wow, how could that be solved? And I was wondering, because you're making all this food, but like the big bagels that come, they take one bite. People will throw the plastic wrap on the ground, and then the bagels down a little bit farther. And like I got in a fight with a squirrel a couple months ago over a plastic bag. It was trying to make a nest out of it. I'm like, you're gonna kill your babies. Let me have that back. I literally snagged it because it was stuck in the tree and it couldn't get up the tree. So if there was a way to do smaller portions, maybe, because they could take as much as they want when they get there. Sometimes I see people fill up their whole bag. Sometimes they take 1 or 2. And I don't know, trash cans. We just did a fundraiser at Oakshire. Maybe we could help out with some trash cans for the food pantries in our neighborhood.
Okay, that's a great idea. I mean, Amy and I are constantly brainstorming, because Amy was my volunteer coordinator in the beginning of the COVID, and the little free pantries, there was 20 before COVID, and now there's 55, and 9 of them alone are on River Road and 9 alone in the Whit. So we do plastic wrap the bagels, but that's a great idea. I mean, I would be totally down. We did get some money from Trillium to make the pantries better. Maybe we could like screw like those little waste baskets next to them, so then they're not because Amy's tried to like leave a trash can next to her pantry and it always leaves. So like maybe we get the bat. I am totally open to suggestions, and it sucks that we're even putting individually wrapped bagels and apples, and like we're even trying to make them even smaller, and they're still having this. And this is good feedback because Amy, if it doesn't happen like two houses down from Amy, she doesn't see it. So
So I have two neighbors. They get the middle of the block, I get the other end of the block. The other thing we find is people shove like the full dinners. They just shove them in people's mailboxes. I've had to clean them out. So it's bringing ants and rats. That's the other two issues. And businesses are coming to me going, we want to help. We don't know how to help. How can we solve this? Because everybody deserves to eat. So thank you for your work, and reach out to me or
okay,
Margaret. Let's see what we can do to help. Okay.
I appreciate this.
I'll put my email in the chat.
Perfect. Somebody
you.
else. Oh, Margaret's in the queue.
Yes, Margaret had her hand up.
I have just a couple of things. So Burrito Brigade, Jennifer, you're telling me that they put the Burrito Brigade on hold? They took your permit?
Well, so I mean, no, it's very hard to admit. So what happened was, so we were at Food Filling County all of COVID, and then Food Filling County, the construction was taking forever at the new building. And finally, Food Filling County was like, we have to start renting the kitchen on the weekend. I'm so sorry. And it was like really sweet because it's like most of COVID, like food trucks weren't renting it. And he's like, okay, so we need to be done August 1st. So we're like, okay, well, the construction's finished. That maybe we'll have like a month on pause. We'll restructure everything. But no, now Lane County Health is just not calling me back. It went straight to voicemail today. So I was like, I think he's now ignoring my phone call. Because he even told me on the phone, he was like, oh, other states have like made nonprofits exempt from this because there's so many loopholes. And I was like, yeah, maybe and they told us when we got the building, they're like, oh, we've known about you, but you're in this gray area because we don't set up like Breakfast Brigade. We just hand people food directly that's wrapped and warm and by temperature. So they were like, we've just known about you, but we haven't really been able to do anything about it. So now we're going to make sure you follow all these rules. So they want to register me like a restaurant, but can't figure out how to register me because I don't distribute food out of the building. So
well, I'm sure, and I'm pretty sure that I speak for most of the board when I say, we're very supportive of you. We always have been. So please let us know if there's anything that we can do.
yeah,
I'm actually shocked.
I know.
To hear this.
I know. It's like I had to skip a Burrito Brigade. Everyone was like, it'll be okay, Jen. It's okay for you to have a week.
It will be all right. Anything that we can do, please,
Okay.
there's strength in numbers. And so I do have one question, Lisa, or at least a comment for me. The big thing, I don't live in the same neighborhood that Thea does. I do live in the Whiteaker, but if you go down the alley, I mean, I live a block and a half from the park. And I do see not only in the park, but I see down the alley just so much garbage. And you can tell when they're eating, it's containers of food. It's, it would be nice. It would be nice if there was a way that while you guys were serving breakfast, and I understand that you give lunches to go, which is a great thing, and that is what it is. But and I do see people sitting there and eating breakfast. They sit down in the park. I've seen families there. I mean, you guys are doing great work, but it would be nice if you encouraged them to please pick up their trash. Because sometimes when you guys leave, there's just trash strewn from the park all the way down the road. And it's hard to figure out what to do.
And Claire, I'm sorry, Margaret, I think we're so aware of that. If you wouldn't mind letting me know where you're seeing that in that alley, because I lost that. If you can just throw it in the chat. when we're done here. We are actually slightly over volunteered right now. That happens when you're on TV. Everybody wants to come help you, and then as soon as that fades, nobody wants to come and volunteer. But at the moment, thank you, Margaret. We are slightly over volunteered, and we can send people out with trash bags, and we were right now we're talking about doing a monthly day of service to just clean up lots of stuff in Washington Jefferson Park, to just walk the park and do it. But I think that you're exactly right that we can do more with talking to our guests about, please make sure that you put your trash in the trash receptacles. We do have a couple of problems. The people who are drug addicts who are on meth have a really difficult time, meth or fentanyl, managing their trash. And all we can do is apply volunteers to that, because their drug disability doesn't give them the mechanism to understand that they're leaving a mess behind. Some of the people that we have who have mental illness, we have one woman that we serve who has schizophrenia, who doesn't actually eat her food. She actually creates a shrine out of it and picks flowers and leaves and sticks out of the park, and she leaves it somewhere. And we try to follow her and then clean it up. But if we take it away too soon, she gets angry and starts throwing things. So we're managing. We're managing both mental health issues as well as drug related issues. And for all the rest of the people, they're busting out their trash. But we will make a concerted effort to do that. And for sure, thank you for telling me that was the fourth alley, because we really do want to be good neighbors, and trash is a huge problem. I just cry sometimes when I see somebody who's in the middle of either a mental health break or they're on drugs, and they just start throwing things everywhere, and it just creates just this terrible scene in the park or in the streets. There was one day I was driving down Jefferson, and there's a guy with a shopping cart, and he's throwing everything out of his cart into the street. And clearly it wasn't safe for me to stop and help him at that point because of what was going on with him mentally. But it still creates this horrible problem that none of us want. We all want to help them, and we don't want the Whiteaker to be a trash dump while we're helping them. So thank you for that, and definitely we will take a good look at 4th Street Alley, and I think I'm going to make some flyers that I give to people, as well as we're going to start handing out trash bags. It's time, as we transition into the rainy season, we have to give them trash bags anyway to keep their stuff dry. But I think giving them trash bags to also remind them to pick up their trash would be an excellent idea.
Well, thank you. And it's also nice to know that it's on your agenda. So we're getting close to running out of time. I think, Barbie, you're good if we go over a couple minutes. Okay. Claire?
So Jennifer and Lisa, thank you so much for coming tonight. And also, hi Jennifer, good to see you twice in 1 week. So first of all, sorry doesn't cover it, but I'm sorry for the Parks and Rec-esque hoops that you're having to jump through right now. That's a TV show reference for folks that aren't aware of Parks and Rec. It's abhorrent what you're having to deal with, so I'm sorry about that. While you're literally trying to feed people. But, on that note, I want to urge us all not to let the bad behavior of a few people make us lose sight of the failure of the system and the structure at hand, because it's not the individuals, it's the system and the structures that we're in. And on that note of focusing on solutions, and talking about actionable items, would a letter of support of urgency help? And this is probably something the board would have to talk about, I was just kind of like quickly jotting down ideas. So I don't know if this is a thing, but maybe some kind of reward system for bringing back the trash. Like maybe there can be like a sticker on there that says, if you bring on the, plastic wrap that says, bring this back and get I don't know. I don't know if that's a thing, but especially if there is busing out service, it seems like that is a good opportunity. And I also just want to highlight what Lisa, I think, mentioned, that like some folks are just not at the mental capacity to say, I should not throw this on the ground. And so again, just a reminder that not everybody is right there with us. So yeah.
Thank you, Claire. Derek?
Thank you. Lisa, I think, answered all the questions I had or suggestions I had as she was talking. I almost put my hand down, but having the heartfelt talk with the clients that you do have about, taking care of their own trash and whatnot that's left behind, and not threatening them, but telling them, hey, we can't continue to do this if you guys don't respect what we're doing. For you to have to follow somebody around and take care of their trash, that breaks my heart. You have to do that, but yeah, just a sign there. Claire's idea of a sticker program for them or something, sky's the limit on what you could do to get them to come back and be respectful. But I think you're trying to address it, but having that heartfelt talk with them when you're there about, hey, this, we're here because you guys are going to continue to be respectful. And if you're not, we can't continue to be here, because it just turns, it gets ugly. So I think you're on it. You're trying the best you can. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Derek. Do we have any other questions, comments, statements?
I just wanted to say thank you for having us, and I appreciate y'all's support towards the burrito / breakfast brigade food, whatever crew. So thank you for having us.
You're always welcome, Jennifer. So you guys are welcome to stay through the rest of the meeting. I've sent you the agenda. It actually should be good. Is there any more comments regarding this? Okay, so we had invited Lyndsie Leech, who is our interim city councilor for Ward 7, and Barbie Walker. They're both running for the same position. Thea, I'm going to hand it to you for a minute before we move on.
Thank you, Margaret. Once again, thank you, ladies, and all the volunteers that work out here in the Whiteaker and in the neighborhood. This is a problem that's not going to go away, and it's been here for decades, so thank you. I always think we should feed people. I did reach out to Lyndsie and Barbie today and sent them texts for reminders, because summer's always project mode, and Lyndsie got back to me and she is not able to attend tonight. I'm going to read you her text because I don't want things to get screwed up. I'll read you my message and her message back. So I said, good afternoon. Will we still see you at the WCC general meeting, correct? And she sent back the following message. Alas, Thea, I'm afraid it looks like I'm left without a solution to a lack of childcare. Their dad has been hit with an emergent situation. My partner is unavailable and our only sitter is out of town. So it looks like I've got school pickup, 2 rounds of soccer practice ending at 7:30, dinner and bedtime to contend with. Furthermore, I've been battling a nasty migraine and I'm not sure how I'm going to manage all that. And I sent her my apologies. And then she wrote back, thanks. I do it all, but after one heck of a year trying to, I'm in a season of having to prioritize. Please do convey my sincere gratitude and also willingness to answer questions via phone or email. And I know that you can find her phone and email contacts on the city website. If you go to the city councilors, they have their pictures and they have their emails and phone contacts. And I don't know how often councilors check their messages. Maybe Cindy knows that from the city, but I'm not sure. So we're just going to have Barbie here tonight to answer questions.
In case anyone would like to get in touch with Lyndsie Leech, we just wanted to share the contact information for her here. And we'll share it in the chat as well for people who are joining over the phone.
Thank you, Saoirse.
Yes, thank you, Saoirse. I did talk to her on the phone, and she said please feel free to reach out to her through email or phone if you have any questions, statements, concerns, any of that, and that she's really sorry that she couldn't attend.
Sometimes life gets in the way. And then I do want to thank Barbie. I was not able to attend our fundraiser. I had a health crisis of my own, and I did want to thank Barbie for coming to our fundraiser at Oakshire and the ice cream social. So thank you.
Yes, so that means it's going to be the Barbie Walker show today. So this is how this will work is that we're going to give Barbie about 15 minutes or so. It's going to be a little more casual at this point. She's going to tell us what her platform is, where she stands, and then everyone will have an opportunity to ask a question. Please raise your hand. Raise your hand in the reaction, or if you're on the phone, just let Saoirse know, and then Saoirse will put your name in the queue. We're going to leave it to one question per person. We're going to ask Barbie to leave her answers to around 2 minutes each. And once everyone has had an opportunity to ask a question, then we'll go around and see if people have more than one. Does that make sense to everyone? Any questions about that? All right, fantastic. So Barbie, I'm going to hand the floor to you.
Okay, can everyone hear me? Not sure. Can you hear me? Yes? Okay. Sometimes it gets tricky when I'm on the phone and not the laptop. First, thank you everybody for having me tonight. I really do appreciate everybody's time and commitment to the Whiteaker Community Organization. Quickly, before I start on some candidacy things, I want to just briefly touch upon that. You know, I've lived in Eugene for over 25 years now, and I've been to various organizations, various events, and went to school here, own a business here. And I gotta say, now that I live near the Whiteaker and I've gone to many more events and made some connections, I definitely have a better understanding and feeling of the Whiteaker community. And I've gotta say, out of all the communities, the Whiteaker holds the most community enrichment events that I've seen in any of Eugene. And like I said, I've lived in nearly every ward, and that's impressive and a testament to your hard work for keeping that community bond that you have. And so just wanted to touch upon that. And the ice cream social was awesome. It was a lot of fun, and so was the fundraising event. So thank you. It's a gem. I made some notes tonight about some of my stances because I don't want to get off track, because it's easy to do that when there's so much to cover. So I'll be kind of looking at those and then talking as well. And thank you, Burrito Brigade. Also, it does bring to light that you are aware of the pros and the cons, the needs, the benefits of your neighbors and the community. So that's great that you had this forum to just come from the horse's mouth, so to speak. So my number one issue of the Whiteaker and Community Council and my candidacy is safety. That's what I'm going to talk about. Our neighborhoods, our businesses are suffering from continual bad policy making at the council level. These different policies and council are basically allowing what I call a different set of rules, different set of standards for different people. You know, our town in Ward 7, I believe what I'm hearing, and I've talked to a lot of people, I'm really connecting with people in the Whiteaker and the River Road and Santa Clara. We're all at a breaking point. We have compassion, we have grace, and we have what we call fatigue. Now, we've all been very thoughtful of what I call a delicate balance between compassion and enabling. We have been extremely good stewards to our people, and we need to continue to be good stewards. So don't think I'm going down a rabbit hole of saying what we need and what we don't need and lose compassion. I'm touching upon the fact that people are tired. We're really tired, and how much can we continue compassion? We need to change some policies, and we need to continue to be good stewards to people. Another note, if we're going to go pros and cons, and if we're going to be able to talk transparently, which is what I'm going to need from you and you from me, have this open dialogue, is we have to look at some of the inhumane enabling. Some of this does actually keep people in their addictions. You know, some of these addictions, you know, some of these are tragic family cycles, and I have some stories. I won't go down that. We can talk in person about these stories that I've heard. And it's the approach to addiction that's gone off the rails. I think it's the approach to it. We have some very wonderful, very awesome nonprofits that we need to support and continue to support, absolutely, throughout Eugene. What I want to ask, and this is what I've really struggled with, is how many now are just in Ward 7 alone, just in Ward 7? Again, we support our nonprofits. We are committed to the ones that diligently have the cohesive relationship with Ward 7 neighbors and businesses. I'm so glad the Burrito Brigade got up to talk today that said that they are cognizant of the pros and cons. So the nonprofits that continue to be good stewards to their communities, and I know about this because I can touch upon how much I've worked with nonprofits throughout Eugene as well. And those that are good stewards are great. We got to continue to look to how many nonprofits are serving in other wards as well. You know, what are their services? Are we providing services in Ward 2, in Ward 8, in Ward 1? Are we providing only services in Ward 7 that basically do relocate people and aren't meeting them where they are? Of course, Ward 7 has our community, but so does Ward 8, so does Ward 1. So what other nonprofits are there that are also helping their wards out and meeting people where they are? And does that hopefully take a little bit of the burden off of all of just the Burrito Brigade being the bad guy of trash or not handling or being good stewards, meeting them elsewhere? So I guess, you know, I'm looking at the resources we have, the representation we need at the council level, and people that can address those very different situations at the council level and speak for you with being mindful of the need base and the grace and the compassion for our community as well. So to wrap it up a little bit is equal laws and rules and standards for all citizens, residents in commercial and residential and open park spaces, accountability, and then working with our nonprofits to be able to meet people where they are. And then at the council level, interpretation of laws and administrative orders to meet these accountability needs that we are so asking for. That is what I'm here for the Whiteaker on the council level. I want to be available to you. I want to have transparent, open dialogue with you. And I want to represent at the council table for you and hear from you and bring your voice there and be a part of the community. And that's kind of the notes I have on that. And I took a lot of notes with the Burrito Brigade. And one thing that clicked with me is if there is a big part of the clinically mental illness and the drug addictions, where are partnerships that also meet Burrito Brigade and Breakfast Brigade at these events that they hold? Where's the partnerships? And maybe we can do something where there are people there that are specially licensed to facilitate people with clinical mental illness, such as the schizophrenia and the stories that they're telling about the lady, what she does with the food that's given to her. And that's where we bring in grace. We bring in that factor of grace. And that's kind of all I got. Sorry if my voice is raspy. I actually have a cold coming on. I'm taking my zinc and my elderberry. But I'm open for questions and any other way you want to go with this dialogue. And again, I do appreciate everybody here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbie. And again, I just want to say what Thea said, and thank you for coming to all the events we invited you to. It really it means a lot. Trip Chick, you're in the queue. Do you have a question? Are you on
Can
mute?
you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. And I don't know if you can't see me, but anyway, My big concern is I'm a stoner and I do not understand blaming drugs for people's problems. I have been a stoner since, oh gosh, I'm 62 now. I had a career-ending stroke while homeless in a motel in the Whiteaker, and we've dragged ourselves up from there. Um, I have emailed both Leech and Walker many times about my proposals to get 200 people working at
We're kind of
park
losing you. It's
maintenance.
hard to hear you.
Oh, heck, I'm sorry. I don't have the best computer set up. Here, anyway, I have been asking, let's focus on getting people working at parks maintenance jobs, that kind of thing. They go to school cafeteria with their kids, have breakfast, go off to their shifts, and then in the afternoon they have peer-led support work groups where they can learn things like budgeting, effectively using resources, that kind of thing. Teach a person how to fish, and you won't be spending, I don't know, 15 million on I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm getting inarticulate. I'm done. Thank you.
Did you have a question?
My question is for Ms. Walker. Why will she not respond to my emails when I have suggested these ideas so many times and talked to her about the awesome empowering felt making workshops I hold at Scobart Gardens Park?
Okay.
I would appreciate some,
let's give her an opportunity to answer.
Okay, thanks.
All right, there we go. I'm back. I have responded about your felt making, and the pictures you sent me are gorgeous, and I love crafts. You can see the quilt behind me. I made that many years ago. And I think economic development at whatever level it is empowering to people. So I do believe what you're saying with teach someone to fish rather than give them a fish, because what is happening sometimes is when you send a group of people to the same spots, or you relocate them, as I was kind of talking about a little bit earlier, and you can have, here's your food for the day, here's your tarp for the day, here's your tent for the day, you're getting them through the day. Where's the rest of it that goes with that? And so what you see then, and there are different levels of addiction and mental health and all various needs of different people. Everybody's different. So then what you see is they're okay for the day. Then they go and they hang out in different spots, kind of conglomerate historically Washington Jefferson Bridge area. And what you have when you have an addiction is I'll quit tomorrow. I'll stop tomorrow because you're taken care of today. I'll deal with it next week. And so that's why I was hoping it's the partnerships with the Breakfast Brigade that can handle and deal with the clinically mental illness or the drug addiction, because they actually have the schooling and the managing for that. Now, if you're talking about economic development at a different level than small businesses or personal businesses, or say Etsy small businesses, you have to be, to attract talent, you have to be attractive. And we're not going to be attractive to talent when up and down 4th Street and other places, it's trashed. And I've talked to many business owners that are scared to even speak to this because they don't want to be pigeonholed into being inhumane or not caring or whatever people want to come at other people with, when that's just not the case. But I don't want to lose businesses, and I don't want to lose economic prosperity for anybody at any level. And I do agree that it would be great to have some partnerships, some apprenticeships, and help people through the steps, much like you see AA programs. And I won't get into what works, what doesn't work. Everybody has their own program that works. But there are different steps that different people need in order to be successful. Will they fall back into addiction? It is usually the case at some point. Somebody falls back into addiction, and then they get back into the help that they need. So that would be my answer, and it's very a sophisticated answer. It's case by case. What addiction are we dealing with? What mental health are we dealing with? What economic development are we dealing with? And what section of the Whiteaker are we dealing with it in? Residential, commercial, railroad, Lane County versus city. So it gets complex, but I do appreciate your question. I will try to answer you more, but I did answer a few. Maybe all of a sudden it's going to junk or spam. I'm not sure, but I do remember your pictures and in your question. I do appreciate it. And I think your name is Joy, J-O-I, if I'm getting it right, or I'm getting the wrong person.
No, I think you're correct.
Okay. So yeah, I know you. All right. Thank you.
All right. Fantastic. Thank you. Lisa, you're in the queue.
Hey, Barbie, good to see you again, and
Thank
couldn't
you.
agree more with what you're saying. I want to start out by saying something that one of our homeless volunteers who was helping us with Burrito Brigade said to me 5 years ago in my house when we were making burritos because we didn't have a kitchen. He said, what we're doing is Band-Aids for bullet holes. And it's true. When we feed the homeless or clothe the homeless, it is a Band-Aid for a bullet hole. The trauma that they are dealing with is extraordinary, and we are not helping them. Measure 110 was a disaster. The Washington Jefferson Park is an open air drug consortium. When we had Officer Hubbard out there threatening to arrest my partner's mother, who is 83 years old, we pointed to the SUV, the red SUV that you can see sitting at the bottom of First and Jefferson Street every single day. If he's not there, he's in Skinner Butte Park and he is dealing drugs. And we said, why aren't you arresting him? Why are you threatening to arrest us? And he said, that's not what we're here for. And we have asked several times. I brought it up with Parks and Open Spaces. I have brought it up with Mayor Finnis. I have brought it up over and over and over again. Washington Jefferson Park is an open air drug market because of Measure 110. And unless you as a neighborhood and all of us stand up to this, it is going to continue to be an open air drug market. And I'm not talking about people who are just smoking weed. We're talking about fentanyl. We're talking about methamphetamine. We're talking about one of the guests that we have who was losing his feet to diabetes, decided one day while we were serving, before we had a permit, on the other side of the park, he decided that he was in so much pain that he was going to buy some fentanyl from the guy in the red car. We had to call 911. We didn't have Narcan on site. It took 4 Narcan to get him back. We do now have Narcan on site because he is in that much pain. He doesn't have health care. We do have a mental health crisis that requires serious people. And now that we have a permit, we now have Occupy Medical and Black Vessel who can come in and serve with us on a weekly basis. But that's not going to help every single person. So Barbie is exactly right. And how does this work for our community? For all of the businesses within the Whiteaker, that it's okay that we just deal drugs within the WIT, that our kids that are playing down at the skate park and in the camps, that it's okay that we deal drugs here. It is not okay. And I don't.
Lisa, I hate to interrupt you.
I know, I'm out of time.
No. Do you have a question?
Yeah, Barbie, my question to you is, if you were our city councilor, what do you think that you would do about drug dealing within Eugene?
Good one. Am I on? Oh, goodness. Go back. All
You're
right, okay, there we go. Well, very good question. Drug dealing in Eugene, right? It's rampant. Measure 110 has made that very, very prevalent. It was one of those measures that had the right intentions and not a full plan or full logistics or procedures and protocols set up, and here we are. So what we need to do is work with our Chief Skinner, his captains, his sergeants, and start kind of untying their hands. I have firsthand seen some of the horrible effects of 110, and I will give you one example right now out of one of my businesses, and it's not even in this ward. I'm opening it up, watering the plants out front. I actively see someone doing drugs in a car across the street. Bicycle comes up, they start doing drugs. Other bicycle comes up, they start doing drugs. So I call non-emergency to say, this is what's going on. And they said, well, ask me, what are they doing? I said, well, I can't tell what they're doing, but I can tell you that's not marijuana, And it was early enough for maybe non-emergency calls weren't at a decreased level just yet. And they came up, and the officer told two of them to leave. They already finished whatever they were doing. And he started talking to the guy in a very calm manner, talked about his mental health, talked about his drug addiction. The problem with 110 is he basically told him, you've just got to leave. People don't like seeing this. They don't like to see it. And I felt for this officer because that is where he has to stay within those perimeters. And then, what the guy did is, after I was getting open and the officer just kind of parked down the block to see where he'd go, what he would do, he actually tried to approach me to come into my business. And I said, no, I don't think so. Not today, sir. But have a nice day. So with that said, it's where do we at the local level interpret different measures that are at the state level? How do we then work with our city manager and our city attorneys to say, where is there one line or two line in this measure that we can interpret it that behooves the law enforcement, our neighbors, our commercial, and the addiction, and then we can actually crack down on some of these drug addicts that are actually moving into our state and into our local level because of Measure 110. So where do we start that process? And we just need to openly talk about it at the council level, see how we can interpret it, and take it to the state level. So that's what I got.
All right, thank you very much. I believe Claire Roth, you are in the queue.
Thank you, Margaret. And hi, Barbie. Thank you so much for joining our meeting tonight. I kind of have a 2-in-1. The first part is, you mentioned earlier that there are nonprofits in other wards of Eugene that are good stewards to the community that we need to support. And I was wondering which organizations you were referring to specifically.
Yeah. All right. So there is the Whitebird nonprofit organization in Ward 1 that I appreciate. They've got 2 spots, the dental spot that's over on Pearl and 14th, and they're really good stewards to the neighbors. They gave a tour when they first opened. I think it was pre-COVID, right before. They gave a tour. The building looked clean. It didn't look institutional. They don't allow on their property or around it to have trash or open drug sales or use. It's for the dental clinic, and then you go around the corner to the 13th. And we had big conversations about that one, because at times it gets away from them, the stewardship to their neighbors. And so we had some worries about the one on the dental clinic. So that's one I kind of look to. I look to the Girls' House, the St. Vincent one, and I believe that's going to be in Ward 2. It was a church that I helped, I guess you could say, fill their kitchens and their girls' rooms. And it's a spot that, it was an old church that we developed and renovated, that the girls can go, have a place to stay. And it's, once again, not institutional, and they can go to school. They have computers and showers and just a beautiful spot to stay. Those are some examples of good stewardship. I could probably think of some more on this, but it's on the spot. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And I think actually I could be wrong, but I believe we also have a Whitebird Crisis Center here in our ward on West 7th as well. Second question. So as our community grows and ages, with a lot of old Oregonians no longer driving, and younger Oregonians choosing not to drive due to the average $10,000 a year cost to own and operate a car a year, and transportation's role in climate crisis, which a lot of young folks are very concerned about, justly so, that, it's resulting in the demand for infrastructure, offering safe and convenient ways to travel other than driving. I was wondering how you might support that demand if elected.
So transportation infrastructure, we could go a long way with that, get pretty deep with that. So I've talked to, interestingly enough, a couple of weeks ago, someone I've known for over 20 years. His name is Pete Knox, and he is on the LTD board. And I was talking about he's a great guy. Over 20 years I've known him. And I said, I'd like to just be candid with you about what you think's happening on River Road, because that's where the transportation and the climate change and electrification gets dicey for voters in Ward. I do agree that alternative transportation is needed. I have stock in Arcimoto. When they first came around, I said, yeah. What we need, though, is clear transparency in what their plan is. And in talking to Pete, I'm actually going to talk to Jameson Otten. I've met him a couple times, but it's just in passing. I really want to talk to him because what my plan is we have to look at, does it pencil out budget-wise? What are we doing to other people's personal property? And is it equitable? Everyone talks about equitable, but is it really equitable to take away driving from all? And I'm not talking about fossil fuels in general. And what I get at, I have people telling me, listen, I want to go to U of R, I want to go to Lane. I can't afford to live on the streets of steel over in the campus area. I can't afford it. I have to live outside of it. But to better myself, I have to have a transportation that gets me to these colleges. LTD doesn't do it. I'm either late for class, or I'm late picking up my kid, or I'm too early, and it doesn't work. So how is it equitable for me to have my transportation and my car taken away from my kids and my house or my work, and then make it also the Lane or U of L? This is just one example. And I said, well, what I would like to do, when I was talking to Pete Knox about this, and I'm going to talk to Jameson Otten, is I would like to see not the big, huge buses and changing the complete infrastructure of tearing up streets and then more, more asphalt and taking away all the beautiful trees along River Road and the county areas that we have. Is let's get smaller buses that do more stops and in the county. And let's also look at the school bus system, right? So when I'm talking elementary to high school, and this is what I really want to talk to Jameson Otten about, is this isn't getting rid of school bus driver jobs. What this is now we're going to have LTD buses that are going to be designated for taking kids to school on time and taking them home on time. What we're finding now is the stops LTD does isn't making people on time. Or you have to do a transfer, and in your middle school or you're in elementary school, it doesn't work. Now, rural schools will have to keep some rural school buses, but then you create more jobs. LTE can use some of those grants, and I don't care if these are small buses that are electric. Sure, if that's already made, but that's where I need to talk to him more about. Is there a design for these smaller buses that can go more routes and take people where they need to go? I feel like talking to Pete, then he represents a big ADA group. Then those buses could pick them up where he and ADA people need to go to get a prescription, go to a doctor's appointment, because RideSource doesn't always cover all the ADA capacity either. And I know that because I've worked with RideSource about, oh God, I remember when. Anyways, and so lots of moving parts with that question. I don't mind ever talking to you in person more. I just don't want to get 20 minutes into it about infrastructure, electrification, fossil fuels, and then equitably, how is it going to work out for everybody? Because there's so many moving parts when we start talking about that. And we have to be clear and transparent about everybody that's going to be affected by it.
Thank you for your thoughtful answer to my huge question. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Claire, are you done? Do you have any other questions regarding that? Okay, fantastic. Thea.
Barbie.
Yeah.
County. The county is responsible for housing. The county is responsible for mental health. The county has been allowing the city to do it for years. How do you think you can get the county to start doing their job? Because we have all these social services and the city that's trying to pick up their job, and the county's not doing it. How can the council put pressure? If you were to get on the council, how can the council put pressure on the county to start doing some of the things they need to do?
Yeah. So are you talking about budget-wise, contributing to budget-wise or land use?
All of it. They're not doing any of their jobs. They're not doing housing. They're not doing mental health.
Okay.
They're not doing health. They are not doing their job. And this has been the question and the conversations I've had with the city. And I will tell you, I just met with Chief Skinner this morning. We had a porch chat, a little conversation, and it looks like at the state level, there is a possibility of some reversal of 110 that might be happening. There is a push at the state level, he shared. But the county is not doing their job. And when I've met with the people in the city, they're like, the county's not doing their job. I know we all know the city's been stepping up. The city's been trying to house, they've been trying to feed. They're relying on all the social services. How do we get the county? Have you heard anything out there? Does anyone have any brilliant ideas?
Right. So the county's an interesting one. What I could do at the city council level is we're policymakers, and it would be a numbers swing then on the council level, is to really look at where Lane County and the county is lacking and bring the attention to it with the different Lane County commissioners. I believe there's, in 2024, there's going to be an election going on there. And so we find those in the county in the election that will support us, really. Other than that, I'm going to have to look to my counselors that have been here longer than I, in this seat longer than I, to know what actually laws or administrative orders or rules or regulations we have in asking the county to do their job.
Thank you.
What's our power?
Thank you.
Yeah.
And just to follow through on Thea's question, it's the county that gets given the money to house the homeless people, but the city is the one that's doing it. So look into that. It's quite a mess. So my question is a little bit different, but I would like to know how you will differentiate between your own personal opinion and between what you think is best and what your constituents think is best. If there is a difference there and what you personally believe, yet the majority of your people think something else that are in Ward 7. How do you deal with that? What do you do? Do you go with what you think? Do you follow what the people say?
So are you asking, do I have a backbone?
No. I'm
I was
asking, being in a political position, I've been in politics before, it can be a sticky, it's not the easiest position to be in.
Right.
And do you follow your own conscience, or do you follow what the people that have elected you into your position, do you follow what they feel is best for them?
Right. That's a valid question, valid concern, because I think what the people are exhausted by is the quintessential bad politics and bad politician. I know I am. I know I don't like the say one thing, do another, do as I say, not as I do mentality. What you got to look to is what are the facts? The who's who, what are the agendas, the who, what, when, where's, and whys, what are the different players, the pros and cons and everything, and do your research, and you have to do it diligently, because it's not necessarily about my feelings. It's about what is the Ward 7 in the Whiteaker? What are those facts? How is this affecting them? How is the other constituents in Ward 2 and 3 and 1 and 8, how are they voting that maybe affects Ward 7? And why are they doing that? And that is all I can say to that is you really have to learn the facts and learn who put you in this seat, what they want, and be available. Go to the meetings still, go to the events still, and be a part of it. And if you don't have your finger on the pulse of what the people want and you aren't available and you're not doing your research, you don't belong in that seat.
Okay. Lisa. Thank you.
And Barbie,
Kind of.
I have some insight into the difference between being on city council and being in city management. One of the things, and I'm just going to speak from my experience, is the fact that being on city council and representing your ward is not the same thing as being in city administration with our city manager, who runs the city in a completely different way than we would like to have happen.
Okay.
And I could go on about this for days, but my question for Barbie is, how are you going to stand up to our city manager who does not represent the same values that Eugene represents or claims to represent? We have this city of compassion that we talk about, and then we have the city that executes as it wants to based on our city manager. And I think that there is a huge disconnect between those two things. So as a city councilor, how would you address those issues?
Right. So this isn't the first time that I've heard the city manager distributes the information to council as she sees fit. So then that becomes what the agenda is and what that's on the docket. And then that's the only thing you get to research. So what you do as a counselor is you think outside that little box, and then maybe you bring some things to city manager's attention, because it really should work a little bit differently. And so it's not the first time I've heard that. And what that takes is having a voice and doing the research and continually bringing to the table, back to the table, different motions. Or I'd like to clarify. We're talking about the Whiteaker now. So I'd like to make a motion that the Whiteaker community wants me to address this situation. And there, I just kind of changed the agenda of the only thing that the city manager is bringing to the table. So it's things like that that I can do as a counselor. If that answers your question.
It does. Thank you, Barbie.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Doriandra, you're in the queue.
Thanks, Margaret. Hi, Barbie. I just have a couple of questions for you. In the Whiteaker here and for the Whiteaker Community Council, we're embarking soon on a real comprehensive look at emergency preparedness and disaster resourcing in the Whiteaker. We just have this profound mix of vulnerabilities, both with simple location. We've got chemical spills potential with train derailments, we have flooding, and then combined with the unique, really vulnerable population that we have of folks. I'm wondering what kind of resources or co-location of services you could imagine or potentially bring to the work we're doing to keep our neighborhood safe. And if you have any ideas about what that looks like, because generally it seems that emergency preparedness in the city of Eugene is really kind of fractured. It's spread out. It has a good base plan, but we're very concerned as the council about the Whiteaker in general. Just wonder what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah. So the emergency preparedness, there is a giant disconnect between the city of Eugene and the different community organizations. The city of Eugene takes the stance of, well, we work at the governmental level. So we deal with the government agencies if something was to happen. And what they like to tend to lean on is, well, we can't prepare for every disaster. What are we supposed to do if it could be a hurricane and it could be an earthquake and it could be a fire? How we can't have a handbook for that. And that's an interesting response. I don't agree with that. And so it's almost like when you're a kid and you prepare if there's going to be a fire in the house, you say, we are going to meet here across the street at this school, at this tree as a family. Or if there's a tragedy, that you do that at a family level. So how do we get the city of Eugene to recognize that the community organizations need that as well? With that said, I do know that the River Road has a disaster preparedness and the Santa Clara organization, and that they're pushing for the fact that, and I can read you something that I was actually reading before this started, is it is our responsibilities as neighbors to research and share the necessary information, tools, and the know-how to be self-sufficient and better protected before and following a disastrous event. And then there's a list of some important resources. There's City of Eugene evacuation zones, City of and Lane County emergency alert sign up, and then River Road has an emergency preparedness team, which is it's quite interesting. Then eWeb Pledge to Prepare program, but there definitely is a ready.gov FEMA shelter in place. And then, during an emergency or natural disaster, first responders may not be able to assist our neighborhood right away, of course. So you and your neighbors may become the first responders, of course. And, do you know your neighbors? Do you have supplied or skills to evacuate? Is there a list of whose house would have what? Community gardens? Where could you camp for a moment? Because as I see it, there's only a couple bridges that go, there's Chambers Connector, and then there's the Belt Line, and there's a Valley River bridge to get to certain areas that are evacuation zones. One of the evacuation zones is Valley River Mall. One is the Lane Fairgrounds. Well, if you can't make it there, where's our list of who's who? The city doesn't want to take that on, as they say they're a government agency that deals with other government agencies. I think it's important to stay connected with the city of some sort of plan so there's not chaos, because the old saying, don't be scared, be prepared. Well, we're gonna be scared and we're gonna be terrified if something happens, and it's gonna be chaos and mayhem if the city hasn't put something in place with the community organizations. I feel it is a necessary need, and maybe risk management and counsel and attorney should take a look at that. And just a side note, I did offer up my house because I live right on River Road and I have a huge flat backyard. I did offer up my house to, her name is Charlesy, who works with the River Road Prep Center, as a thought process of what could you do with my land, because I have 0.26 acres and it's just flat and my garden's over there. But what can you do with land use for something like that? So we're gonna have a meeting, hopefully if everyone's busy, whatever they plan it, and I'll be there. What can I do with this land? I'm right on River Road. I'm centrally located. So we could all kind of come together and figure out how can we contribute to some degree, and then get the city on board. I do believe it's their responsibility. Before I go on and on, sorry, it's getting late in the night.
Thank you, Barbie.
Appreciate it.
Does that answer your question, Briandra?
Yeah, thank you so much.
Great. All right, Sue, you're in the queue. Sue, you're on mute. Can't hear you. I think that's a little better.
Is it better?
Yeah, it's still a little echoey, but yeah, we're good.
Okay.
Barbie, can you hear her?
Yep, and now, yes, thank you.
I think I had a Bluetooth device connected and it interfered somehow. I wanted to follow up on Lisa's question. Lisa, I didn't really understand what you were saying, so I'm going to ask a question around the city manager position. Barbie, do you support a city manager model?
That's a good question. I think everybody has different positions within Eugene, whether it's administratively or public policy is city council's job. We simply decide what budget goes to where, how much is going to where. The city manager says exactly how it's going to be spent. So an example, if we say we're going to give so much to the Eugene Springfield firefighters, she goes, great, because they need more equipment. They need another EMT ambulance. Great. She gets to decide, all right, you need an ambulance, what kind of ambulance, how it's spent, where it's spent, and that is as I know it. Now, do I support the model? I'm open for different models. Educate me on something differently, but it's almost like you need different people in different situations for checks and balances and budgets. You have one person controlling all the spending. Where's the checks and balances and the transparency there and the power? So I can't hear.
Yeah, can't hear you, Sue.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I was asking if you support I understand that. I'm asking you if you support the model.
I don't know another model. Do you have one as an example that another city or town does?
Yeah, mayor. Usually a mayor is the one who presides, and generally city managers are unelected officials.
Mm-hmm.
They're often chosen from within the government. People don't have a direct line to them. We have a mayor and a city manager, but the city manager trumps all decisions in terms of dispersing of funds. So it's not direct democracy. So what I'm asking you is, do you support replacing or not having a city manager, having someone who is an elected official who's elected by all people in a position that's sort of like a city manager? Usually it's the mayor. That's what I'm asking you. You have on your website that you want people in the city to be able to have direct democracy. That's what I'm assuming that you mean on your website. So I'm asking you, there are many models. This model is actually a very undemocratic one, to have a city manager. So I don't know what Lisa was suggesting. She was alluding to some trumping of decisions. I did not know what she was talking about when she said people say one thing, the people, i.e. the electorate, say one thing, but the city manager trumps that or whatever. So I want to know, do you support a more direct line to making decisions? You have it on your website. I would assume you would know the difference between a mayor who is a democratically elected and a city manager. That's what I'm asking you. I'm asking you, do you support this model?
Right. I hear you. I got to be careful because you have to follow certain laws and rules that are in place. If it requires changing an administrative order, a city rule, a city law that we can look at changing, that needs to be changed for more transparency in a more democratic situation where the people can elect somebody, I am all for the democratic process and having the people the right to vote. Now, with that said, I don't want to misspeak because I don't know if that then breaks some law. And that's not for a counselor to decide or the people to decide. If that means changing an administrative order, Eugene City Code, whatever, the 1970 Eugene City Code 500-page book somewhere in there says how the budget is done, how the city is managed, then that needs to be looked at. but I'm all for transparency and more of a democratic process, and the people get to vote in who they want. I don't think that people are going to want to vote in, let's say, the secretaries at the city level, and then you go from there or wherever. You know what I mean? I know that's not what you're saying.
I'm
just
asking.
Who's
I'm
who,
not asking
or
you to like. I'm not
council.
asking. Yeah, I'm not asking you to
Yeah.
like reinvent the wheel of government. All I'm asking you is your sentiments. Your sentiments on this model, because what I think, and I don't know, and Lisa is saying that she will clarify. Maybe I'll just shut up and let her do that, because I really do want to hear what she had to say. I was intrigued by that. I wanted to know what your mind was about the city manager position, because it is really a very powerful position, and it can basically trump what our elected officials can do. So I'm going to
probably not without breaking a law. So I got to watch it there, because that I would need to talk to legal counsel within the city. Would then our city manager be breaking a law? And that needs to be brought to light and dealt with. So, but yeah, Lisa can.
Yeah, Lisa, if you would please.
Yeah.
Lisa, please.
Let me share a couple of things with you. So, in our experience with seeking a permit to serve in the park, we were told by Parks and Open Spaces, we were given a letter by them with 4 criteria that we had to meet. And we met with Mayor Venice, and we met with the assistant city manager. We met with everybody that we knew how to meet with within the city. And then when we finally went to meet with people, or we went to a city council meeting for the second time and had 12 people speak, we actually had I think City Council President Randy Groves say, I know that we have decided that we don't want to have benevolent organizations serving in the park, but perhaps we could make an exception. Now, we had met with CLDC, the Civil Liberties Defense Council. We had read through absolutely every legal issue that had to do with parks and their parks ruling, and we had asked for a clarification, and we received none. So essentially, our situation for not being able to serve in the park, and I'm just using this as an example, was a city management issue. They decided they didn't want us to serve in the park. Legally, it was illegal on a First Amendment issue, and they actually didn't have any legal statute that said that we couldn't serve in the park. And I'm just using this as a little teeny example of what happens in Eugene when the city decides that you don't want to do things. One of the other things that is going on in the parks right now, Chinacotex signed a law in Oregon about how we need to house our homeless. And it said that you had to post where people could sleep and park and do things. The city of Eugene has responded by posting, you can't park here overnight. It is now illegal for you to be able to car camp in Eugene overnight. This is not a city council issue. This was a city management issue. So the question to Barbie is incredibly critical, because
What is the question?
Yeah, what's the question? I asked it.
I don't want to interrupt you, but what is the question?
Makes decisions about how we do things in Eugene, not the city council. And so, Barbie, what are you going to do about that?
Okay. What am I going to do about it? Once again, I've answered it, but I'll try and answer it in a more articulate way. So there are certain rules and laws that at city council, regardless of what I want to do, I have to follow, right? Same as citizens have to follow certain rules and laws. It doesn't matter if I agree with the city manager and the mayor and the council and every different parts of working pieces and who fits what puzzle piece within the city. Doesn't mean I won't advocate for change. I won't speak about change. I can do that. And I will reiterate again that I have heard of that the city manager basically is the one that is telling the city council what's going to be on the dockets. So I will repeat that I understand that. I've heard it before. This isn't the first time I've heard it. I have to still live within the law. So I would have to refer to council, lawyers, not city council, city lawyers. Where does this all come into play? Different people's jobs and roles. Can I even bring this up if I wanted to bring this up? Do I have to bring it up in another forum? And then I won't comment on the burrito break stuff because I want someone else to have a turn with a question. But that's what I will reiterate about city manager versus city council versus mayor in the different roles. And I believe 100% in transparency, and I believe that the voters should have the right to vote for who they want in certain offices if it is within the law and the rules. And I'm not speaking there saying that there should be the right to vote when it's actually against the law. So there we go.
So Stephen, being that you're here from the Train Song neighborhood, I'm familiar with your neighborhood. I think that we experience a lot of the same issues between the Whiteaker and Train Song, but I'd like to know, do you have any questions? Because you are part of District 7 as well.
Well, I don't have any questions. I like what you're saying about the transportation. I posted in the comments about the mayor. I think that there are cities in Oregon that are governed by just a mayor and don't have a city manager. But thank you for asking. That's all I have to say.
Fantastic. Thank you. So are there any other questions? Barbie, do you have anything you want to say to wrap it up?
Just good, transparent dialogue. I really appreciate everyone that came tonight, giving me a space to speak. Questions, very valid, thorough. And I hope we can continue this dialogue and please spread the word of the very, very important ballot that we have coming up November 7th, that have people turn out and vote. And thank you again for your time.
Barbie, thank you so much for joining us. It's always a pleasure, and we do appreciate you taking your time, and I'm sure that you've had a very long day. So I do just have one more announcement, and it's a reminder, and we will create an email and send or a post, and that is on September 19th. The city has called another meeting for Scobert Gardens. However, and it's from 6 to 7:30. However, it is happening at the Hybrid Gallery, which is at 941 West 3rd Avenue. It's not at the park. So anyone who is interested in that, I do have an for the board that I will forward on. If you guys want to get on that list, just reply all, and the guy will put you on the list. There is an RSVP in there as well. And there will be refreshments served. And I'm not sure exactly, it doesn't talk about an agenda or what it is. It's just another meeting regarding the park. Okay. Do we have any ideas for future agenda items? Come on, don't be shy.
Me.
Oh, actually,
Me.
I'm sorry.
Come on,
I've got
Claire.
one last little.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Barbie.
Okay, I forgot about this. And I am available every Sunday at the River Road Annex at 11 to noon. If there's no agenda, just come and talk to me if we didn't get things solved here or you want to talk about anything. And then also at the filling station on Fridays 4 to 6:30ish. And once again, it's a very safe, just communal area. There's no agenda. We just sit, hang out, and we talk about whatever anybody wants to talk about. So there. Sorry.
Yeah, don't
Appreciate it.
apologize.
Okay, perfect. Good.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Claire.
Yes. So on the subject of Lane County and housing and what is Lane County doing, back in July, I sent the board a email about a contact I had made named James Ewell. He's the Street Outreach and Coordinated Entry Supervisor at Lane County Human Services Division. He said that he would be happy to come to one of our meetings and answer our questions about what Lane County is doing, what their programs look like, or what they don't look like. And I just wanted to remind the board, I went ahead and responded to my initial email and just send me questions if you have questions for him. I'm happy to be that contact to invite him to a future one of our meetings because it seems like there are questions about what is Lane County Public Health doing. So yeah, wanted to ping that again.
Fantastic. Can you, our next meeting actually our general meeting will be October 11th, and that seems like a good time to have a meeting regarding that because the weather will also be changing. And it will be a good time to talk about our, what's happening with our homeless outreach.
So something actually more pressing just kind of occurred to me too. So I don't know if everyone has heard the news, but Mayor Lucy Venus is not running for another term. There's a local woman named Karin Knudsen, I just butchered her last name, who is running, and that I think might be another opportunity to hear from someone running for an office in Eugene. So I think that she would be probably amenable to coming to one of our meetings and answering questions. So
she's running in November?
I believe doesn't run until May. But
do we have anyone running against her yet? Barbie, do you know?
I don't know the name, but I know there is. They haven't released, they haven't told me yet.
I'm sure there will be. I'm sure there will be for sure. But I just need to pin that for future agenda item purposes.
All right. That's Cindy, are you still here? Cindy,
yes,
when that's announced, will you email it to me?
You bet.
So that we can invite them to come to a meeting? That would be great.
You bet.
Thank you very much. And Claire, what do you think about inviting this gentleman to our first hybrid meeting? Again, remember October 11th, we will be meeting online as well as at the mission. It may be a little David Lewis report. Okay, I see you, Stephen. Hold on a second. We will be meeting at the mission and it's posted online. I don't have the actual address, but like I said, it's a large building. It'll be a little bit, we'll kind of figure out as we go. It'll be interesting, but it'll be nice. I've had some people tell me that they will come to a meeting if it's in person, but they don't want to come to a Zoom meeting anymore. So
just to clarify, you'd like me to invite James Ewell to our next general meeting?
Is everyone okay with that? Or should we talk about it next week?
I personally would like to talk about or have questions prepared. So if everybody can have like questions in their pocket, and I'm sure that that'll come up, in a month's time. But chime in, folks, if you'd like to.
Well, he'll come to a general meeting, so we don't know who will be here. If we are talking about someone that works for the city for the homeless, we could invite Cahoots. We can invite, all of the active nonprofits that are within the Whiteaker to come and talk to him as well.
It
The
looks
people
like
that are
Thea,
actually out there, boots on the ground.
it looks like Thea's suggesting the board should discuss, so we can do that.
Yeah. Okay. And so, Stephen, you talked to David Lewis?
Yes. Sorry, just hunting for the unmute button. Yeah, David has agreed to, for those that don't know, David Lewis is a professor at Oregon State University who is a Kalapuya elder who has been doing a study of the history of our part of Eugene and Lane County for quite a while. And the report is almost complete and it will be ready to present to the full community November 8th. And David has agreed to be there at that meeting. Prior to that, we will be presenting the report. I will be presenting the report to the board and responding to questions. So we have time for preparation. But for those that are attending general meetings, November 9th is going to be a good one.
So our the meeting in November will be November 8th.
November 8th, apologies. Yeah.
Right, and I know we're going to talk about paying him a little bit. We're going to just announce that on the 18th because we did decide, just so everyone knows, we voted 2 years ago. He's been working on the study for 2 years. So Stephen's going to give us a little bit of an idea about what that study is, what they have accomplished in that, and then the gentleman will come and actually give us a presentation on the study, which will be great. So
yeah, I'll be at the board meeting next week to fill the board.
yeah,
in.
we'll get you on the agenda.
Great.
Fantastic. Any other ideas for future agenda items for the general meeting? Thea.
EPD talked about wanting to educate people about their new online reporting system that also involves Cahoots and getting services to people. I don't know if we can discuss it as a board and people can let us know if they're interested in that. So we can talk about that later. I know it's getting late.
How long since Chief Skinner's been to a meeting? Are you talking about him coming or about someone from the EPD?
I don't know if it would be him or someone from the EPD.
Can you research that a little bit?
Yeah.
Fantastic. I mean, I know, never mind. I'm going to be quiet. Urban heat island and climate change. Sue, what, you want to explain what that is a little bit?
Yeah, there was a study done about 2017 by a professor at the PSU who found that our area in Eugene, of course, South Hills is much cooler. Sorry, I'm fighting dogs off at the minute. Is much cooler than our area. Our area, because it has so much concrete, is far more. It absorbs more sunlight, and one of the recommendations was to cool things down is to increase more shading in the area, and so trees, but not just trees. And I think that it's something that the city council should be looking at, just because we're having more days over 100 where people are. I mean, our neighborhood is mostly rentals, and people don't always have access to cooling. I know there are cooling centers, but I also think that it would be a good idea to take, the lead on this and actually start talking about ways to help people get through extremely hot days.
Fantastic. that actually comes under what we're doing with the grant that we just got, as well as the fact that we have had Eugene Friends with Trees and that kind of stuff at previous board meetings who just said exactly what you just did. And
sorry, sorry for I haven't been going. I'm working on my dissertation, so I'm not always like.
You don't need to apologize.
I'm not attending.
Do you have someone that would? Do you know someone that would be interested in coming and chatting about that?
I mean, there's some people here in Eugene. There's a guy named Bart Johnson who is a landscape architect. He's in our department. He works a little bit with native plants. It's one way for sure to cool things down. Native plants have been shown to do a good job because they're adapted to the environment, although we need to change them a little bit. So that's one person. He's here at the university. There's also the guy at PSU. I mean, it would be interesting for him to do a follow-up, or his students to do a follow-up walkthrough of our neighborhood and take a look at what we've got going on here.
Do you have time to contact them and help
I
set
can
that
send
up?
him. Yeah, I could send him an email and see
Just
what his.
CC me on the email. Let's see if
Oh,
we
yeah,
can get
absolutely.
them in. I'll help
The
you
recording
do it.
has
We'll do
stopped.
it together. How about that?
That sounds great. Yeah.
All right. I think that we're all interested in that.
Yeah, it also bears on this whole thing with the park as well.
Okay. Anything else? All right. It's been a great meeting. I want to thank everybody that came. Lisa, are you still here? Lisa, thank you very much. Barbie, it's a pleasure as always. We really do appreciate your time.
Thank you.
And we're going to get out of here about 10 minutes early. Anad, do you have anything you want to say? Or no?
Oh, God.
You don't have to.
More than we have time for. I'll write you something and send it to you. I think one thing that's been forgotten in all these discussions is the history of how things got here. Yeah, I've got a few things to say about that, but it would take about 2 or 3 days. So I'll write it out to you and we'll discuss it later.
Okay. All right, fantastic. You all have a great evening, and Anad, thank you for posting the meeting, and Claire, you got the attendance and all of that. All right, you guys are rocks. Stephen, it was very nice to meet you. You have my email. Let's stay in touch. Bring some more neighbors. All right, thank you.
Thank you.